Welcome to another deep dive edition of the Chicks on the Right podcast. Very, very excited to talk about one of our new favorite films, Sound of Freedom, which of course is getting a lot of attention right now. And so we have decided to bring our BFF, Christian Toto, to talk about the film and to also talk about the backlash that the film is getting right now, which is freaking crazy.
It is.
And Christian, welcome and thank you for joining us. And thank you for your wonderful piece about Sound of Freedom. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, crazy hardly describes what's going on. A movie comes along that exposes child sex trafficking. It's well made, it's well put together, and the critics mostly like it. It's been reviewed pretty positively at Rotten Tomatoes. And then the media goes crazy attacking the film. This is QAnon on steroids. They've gone so far as to attack the people who are seeing the movies. Oh, it's a bunch of white-haired people, like, remember ageism? Remember you couldn't say anything about Joe Biden because that would be ageism. Now you can just tee off on people. Anyone who's over 35, it is game on. So I think the bottom line is that when you think about the attacks on this particular film, it's really illustrating the people who are writing these stories and telling them online. I watched a clip on CNN. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Just connecting this to QAnon and this is conspiracy theories. No, it's real. It's happening, and it is unimaginably horrible. Can we just focus on that and direct our anger there instead of Jim Caviezel, who's an actor in Hollywood? It's crazy.
Yeah, it used to be that subject was non-political.
Yeah.
We all could agree that, we all just want to hurt all the pedophiles, all of us. We used to agree on that. It's weird.
When you watch the movie, it is apolitical. They mention God 2 or 3 times. It's not a faith-based movie at all. This was made 5 years ago. And, were we talking about QAnon as much 5 years ago? I don't think so.
No.
So even the movie itself doesn't go there. It doesn't get political. It doesn't bring in arguments back and forth. It's actually really good at weaving in some facts about this trafficking without, making the story slow down. It's really beautifully orchestrated, honestly.
It is. It's so awesome. It's so awesome.
But
It makes you think that they didn't even see it, And that was my first instinct. I'm like, if you would have seen this movie, Lord knows you would not be dissing it. You wouldn't be poo-pooing all over it because obviously, like I said previously, we all are, together on this fight against, child sex trafficking. We thought. So that just leads you to believe that, why would you defend something like this? Why would you?
Yeah.
If you've seen the movie and you've actually sat down and absorbed it and you were not affected by it, I don't know who wouldn't be affected by this movie, but if you could get out there and make a case against it somehow, I don't
And why do you want to be on that side?
Right.
Why is that?
I think you're pedophiles. I think if you are defending, if you're trying to criticize this movie based on who's in it, who made it, the content of it, you are supporting pedophiles and you're defending pedophiles. And I don't know why you would want to be on that side.
Or be out loud about it, or talk openly about how you are against the fight against this. It's just madness.
I am not a groomer, and I hate this movie for exposing pedophiles. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
So
and to
crazy.
your point, I read some of the reviews, and it is like they didn't actually see the movie.
Yeah.
Or they watched it like this. I don't know. Because, one of the reviews mentioned how Jim Caviezel's character is a Superman figure. No, he's really flawed. He's really ordinary. This is not an action movie. This is not like Jason Bourne beating up 12 guys. It's
Agreed.
not that movie. It's a very realistic story that tells how this one man risks so much to save kids. It's the opposite of what they're saying. So, it's almost like when you watch the news, they have their story, they have their narrative. It's all locked in. They don't even have to see what's happening in real time. They've got their narrative. They're just going to put it out there. And that's what the critics did. Now, listen, I'm a critic, and a lot of my other critics actually did a good job. They reviewed it fairly, and a lot of them were very positive about it. So it's not every critic, but it is a lot of media outlets, including The Guardian, The Washington Post, CNN, Rolling Stone, which was just unhinged. So it's flat out irresponsible, really.
Yeah. I mean, you were pretty fair about your critique, though, too, because you mentioned stuff in your piece about how, they probably, I'm paraphrasing, but they probably could have gone in there and done the whole Rambo thing.
Yeah.
They could have done a little bit more, but they didn't, because he didn't, when I say Jim Caviezel, his character, Tim, he didn't encounter a lot of resistance getting that little girl out of there when he extracted the girl. So there's like they could have made it like this Hollywood thing where, you know, he went all Sylvester Stallone on him, you know, and they didn't do that. So it makes it even more believable because they stayed true to what the story actually was, which I'm sure, you know, some film critics would be like, you know, they could have made it a little bit more, I guess, I don't even know what the word would be.
Gratuitous. I loved the movie because it wasn't gratuitous.
It wasn't. Thank you, Miriam. Yes. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't gratuitous. And that made it more like, it's almost more documentary style in a way.
You know, when movies are based on true stories, they always conflate things. They add some different elements. And there's a little bit of that here. I think that you can do some research on it and find some ways where they tweaked it. But the thrust of the story is true. And that's what really matters here. You know, a few weeks ago, a movie came out called Flamin' Hot. It's about this Mexican immigrant who rises up the ladder. He invents the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. He becomes a success. It's a wonderful story about hard work and perseverance, the American dream, except the guy didn't do it. It was an LA Times expose saying, we researched this thoroughly. He didn't invent it. Other people did. And where's the media outcry about that movie? They invited that whole the cast and crew to the White House. The Bidens showed that movie. And, you know, it's actually a good movie. It's charming. It has some really strong messages in it. It didn't happen. Wow. The guy didn't invent it.
And they actually tried to make it look as if it did. Is that the point of that? Yeah,
exactly. And they knew before they went into production. Eva Longoria is the director. She does a nice job, by the way. She knew, and their team knew, because the LA Times expose came out. They made it anyway. So where's the outcry about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it probably didn't take them 5 years to make it either.
Did not.
Yeah.
Hey, couple questions.
Sure.
I wanted to see if you'd heard the hullabaloo about the air conditioning in various AMC and Regal theaters. Have you seen this rumor? Or not a rumor. There's people who have gone to see the movie. A couple different things going on. Hundreds of people are reporting about this, that they've either gotten their tickets refunded without explanation. And then even though they're refunded, they go to the theater anyway, only to be told that there's no air conditioning in that specific theater, just that one. They tell the theaters, that's okay, we're going to go anyway. And so sometimes they do, but it's like there's this concerted, you know, like there's a conspiracy going around that these theaters are trying to prevent people from seeing it, which again, I'm just like, are the theaters all run by pedophiles? What is the explanation for this? What is going on?
Well, two thoughts. One, we're living in a tribal time. So if anything is perceived as right of center, the left goes haywire. And maybe there are some people working within the theater who know about the film, knew about the clash that's going on. But two, you know, you go to the movies for the air conditioning as much as the movie itself. How could you possibly do that? It's the dumbest idea in the world. My gosh, get that going. That's important. And you know, I am not a conspiracy guy at all. But if you lived the last 5 years and you don't have a little conspiracy theorist in you, you're kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely you're not thinking critically. Let's put it that way. No.
Okay. One more other question.
You see this movie because this is a huge problem.
And I think conservatives in general, and you both are leading the charge, have been much more savvy about pop culture. And it's necessary because the right has basically said, okay, we're going to ignore pop culture. Look where we are right now. And
my gosh.
It's not everything. It's not the total cause, but it's part of it. And I think
it's huge. It is huge. We've been talking about that for 14 years. About how pop culture is so. In fact, people will get really ticked off at us because we'll mention, you know, the Kardashians, or we'll mention something about pop culture and they get so mad about it. A lot of conservatives, because we're just like, this is not what we need to be talking about. It's like, actually, we do need to talk a little bit more about pop culture because the culture drives politics.
Yeah. You're like Pauline Revere trying to warn everybody about it.
Pauline, I love
it. We're finally listening, so thank you for doing what you do.
Oh my goodness.
Well, there are other pop culture stories to discuss. First of all, I would like your take on whether it's true that Kim Kardashian and Tom Brady are dating. Please say it's not so.
Yeah, please tell us, Christian.
I mean, I can't. I just can't. I can't on so many levels. I mean... They would, if that happens, they'll postpone the presidential election. Like, we'll have to hyper focus on this, and that's all we care about.
It's nuts. Yeah, Dave Portnoy came out with a thing last week where he was just going off about how this was like the worst idea for Tom Brady, and I agree with him. Maybe not with all the ways that he said it, but I totally agree with him because I mean these chicks ruin men. They need to stop.
Can you imagine? You're Tom Brady. You're handsome. You're wealthy. You're the greatest football player of all time. You could have any lady that is single.
He had Giselle. Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No baggage there.
The most
We're good.
drama-filled family to attach myself to.
I know.
Because I like my privacy, and she's a very private person, so she's my choice.
If I can't have Meghan Markle, I might as well get Kim Kardashian.
Got to be her.
Megan's number 2.
She's totally number 2 on the private scale. That's so true. Uh-huh. Oh my goodness.
Well, there's also, you wanted to talk about this other story.
The Jonah Hill stuff has been splashed all over Daily Mail. I don't know if you've been following that at all. Jonah Hill kind of looks like he'd be a jerk to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. But he's having like this whole issue now with his ex-girlfriend is coming out and saying all these things about how he was emotionally abusive and he's a narcissist and all this. And, why are we doing this? But I guess...
I guess if you're a celebrity, this is your worst fear. An ex-girlfriend comes back and says, you done me wrong, and this is why, and I've got the text to prove it. Mm-hmm. A couple other things, though. When someone goes super woke, like a Jonah Hill, and he's gone super woke, he's
yeah.
I'm sorry, I did super bad. That was problematic. Now I'm much better. My spider senses go off. So he's not the touchy-feely guy you think.
No.
But also, I don't know. I mean, I got to feel a little badly for him too, because in any relationship, we don't always behave perfectly.
No.
We have our mistakes. We have our fights. We say things we don't want to say, and maybe he was not at his best at those moments. And now it's like, oh yeah, it's everywhere. You can read all about it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's just our culture, right? It's indicative of what we're doing today, and that is splashing every detail of our lives out on social media. It's like, do we need to hear all this? Because I kind of don't want to hear it,
And then we're all the behavioral experts. And, we only see that snippet.
Totally.
Maybe she was a horrible person. Maybe she was a wonderful person. We don't even know. Or maybe he was, gold and kind and sweet. But wow.
But it's a year later. Like, what is the point of this? Why is she doing? I just don't understand the rationale at all.
I do. She saw that horrible movie, You People, on Netflix with Jonah Hill. And she's like, screw him.
Right. It's so bad.
Was that terrible?
Was that really bad? Was it really terrible?
It was really bad.
Yeah, because I thought about watching
not a documentary, but like his therapy session or some show on Netflix right now. I don't know what it is.
His psychiatrist and him.
I've not seen that. It sounds interesting, and certainly he also says he's not doing press anymore because it's too harmful to his mental health, which is I have a lot of feelings about that. We got way too much. It takes way too much time, but. He's a complicated character, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
He is complicated.
Yeah. There's that. And then moving on from Jonah Hill, who is just a mega superstar, there was a tweet that went out a couple days ago, maybe I can't remember, this sometime in the past couple of days, and it was of there was Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston and a bunch of like these stars. I think Jason Bateman was in there too. He was trickled in there. Bunch of those kind of stars are in there, and they are all sitting at this gigantic table. It makes you wonder whose house this is. I think it was the chick who did Frozen. It was her house. What's her name? Kristen Bell.
Oh, yeah. I
think it was her house. I think she's the one that took the picture. And they're all sitting at this gigantic table and they're having a meal, unmasked, I might add. And they're all just, hanging out, enjoying one another. And then somebody pointed out it was a super white table.
Uh-oh.
Like there's a lot of white people there.
Uh-huh. Can't have just
for all the woke people. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that they all went on Instagram. They put up the black squares just to kind of balance things out. Now, was that Jimmy Kimmel's house or table? Was he involved there?
I don't know. I know that I just remember seeing that Kristen Bell took the picture. I think she's the one that took it because, of course, she was there too.
Yeah.
They all just must hang out with one another, which I can't imagine what that's like. But
all the celebrities move in like a group together.
They do. It's like the girls in high school.
At least they didn't do like a video montage of singing Imagine. You know what I mean?
Gosh.
Remember that?
The black and white like thing that they do, and they repeat each other. Yeah, stop it. Just stop
actually, there was actually no banter at the table because the writers are on strike, so they don't. They got nothing.
So they just sat there and were like, you know what movie sucks? Sound of Freedom. That's what they said.
They just quoted their own lines like, this is so inappropriate. And they just went back and forth. And that's all they had.
It would have been fun to be a fly on the table just to kind of see what that was all about.
So much privilege. It just
Are
overwhelming.
you, Christian, are you gearing up for Mission Impossible?
I've geared up. I've seen it.
You already saw it?
Yeah.
You saw it.
You got to
What did
tell
you
us all the
think?
things.
Yeah.
At times it's spectacular. And I saw it in the theater. This seems new to me. It had one of those where the seats reverberate or they move or they vibrate or something.
Yeah.
That helped, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
Because some of the sequences are just flat out amazing. And there's one that goes on and on. It involves a train. It is spectacular. And Tom Cruise doesn't phone in a nanosecond of the movie. He's so Tom Cruise. Having said all that, the story itself, it's got some issues. The enemy is this random software. It's kind of like AI gone wild. So that's not as much fun. And it's one of those movies where they're constantly explaining what they're about to do. And hey, if we do this, this will happen and that'll happen. You should do this. And all right, you guys got to tighten up the script a little bit. But when it rocks and it's sensational.
And he actually, I saw some video of him on a motorcycle going off the side of a cliff and then parachuting. And I read that he did that 6 times. Like I used to not like him as an actor because I'm just not, I've never been in the Tom Cruise camp, like in the 80s when you were younger. It's like, is he hot? No, he's not very hot. So I was never like a Tom Cruise person, but I got to tell you, he's how old is that guy? He's got to be close to
like
60.
57
He just turned
something.
61 on July 3rd.
Oh my gosh. And he's doing he does so many of his own stunts, which you got to give the guy props for being just
and there's
doing
another one that's still to be made, right?
Yeah, I think it's coming out next year. They shot it a bit back to back. I'm sure there's more work to be done, but this is part 1 of 2, and it's long. I think it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. It goes pretty quickly though, but there's a lot of story here, a lot of stunts, and yeah, he's crazy. I mean,
he is crazy.
Imagine being Tom Cruise and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to jump off that cliff 6 times,
right?"
Just to get
at almost 60 years old. I mean, how many 60-year-olds do you know that do that? I don't know a lot that would do.
I walk up the stairs.
You know, he signed a
$1
billion-year contract
I know, right,
with Scientology, so he's
never going to die.
He's very, very young. So I mean,
That's
he's got
right.
a billion years,
a
left
billion
to go.
more years. Yeah, he said he wants to do movies as long as Harrison Ford.
Oh.
And so,
I don't think maybe that's a good idea.
I don't know. Harrison Ford, this is probably it for him, but he's holding up pretty good too. Those are the two
he is. I was cringing when I watched Dial of Destiny, the new Indiana Jones film, thinking the dude's like in his late 70s when he shot it. But you know what? He looks good. He's able to do it. It's not embarrassing. So God bless Harrison Ford.
Okay, that's good. It's like the 8th one of those.
Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie itself is kind of, but
really,
yeah,
good for him.
Well, I mean, he's almost old enough to run for president. Almost
this close.
If only he could stumble and bumble and not actually have a sentence pulled together, then he'd be it.
Mm-hmm. He'd be the guy. That's true.
Well, I'm stoked about Mission Impossible.
Me too.
My family's bought tickets. Like we wanted to go like on a day that hopefully not a lot of people are going. So we're going to go next week or the week after, something like that. But I cannot wait because I'm a huge fan of that whole series.
It's a great series.
I need to find a theater that has shaky
seats.
Or just get someone behind you who just kind of rocks your seat back and forth.
It was a person that works there going like this. Yeah.
Get some teen on his phone who's just kicking the chair constantly. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just during the action scenes, not the talky stuff.
Exactly.
Well, Christian, it is always great to get an up-to-date cultural download from you. So we appreciate all the insight on Sound of Freedom, on Jonah Hill, on Mission Impossible, on Kim Kardashian and Tom Brady, all of it. Is there anything that we're forgetting?
Yeah, we forget anything?
Yeah, I just think the fact that the writers are on strike and there's been no late night TV for weeks and weeks is just, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is a blessing, isn't it? Such a blessing. It's just so wonderful.
Well, Christian, thank you so much. We will check back in with you very, very soon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Christian.